XR4 TI, the sports sedan from Lincoln Mercury that isn't afraid of a little competition.
Merkur sounds fancy in French. Well, it's actually German. It's also one of the shortest-lived car brands. Buckle up, because it's about to get bumpy. So, unless you're like me and a die-hard Ford fan, you may have never even heard of this brand. In the late 70s and early 80s, buyer preferences in the luxury vehicle segment began shifting from once traditional Cadillac, Lincoln, and Chrysler models towards more European-produced and inspired vehicles. It was created by Ford as a response to the Japanese cars like Honda launching Acura and Toyota launching Lexus. Ford created the Merkur brand in November of 1983 with an expected launch for the 1985 model year. But instead of developing new products, which the Edsel must have still been fresh in their mind, by the way, Merkur adapted vehicles from Ford of Europe to meet American safety and emissions regulations, which Bob Lutz, who, by the way, also had a hand in developing cars like the BMW 3 Series and the third-gen Ford Escort in Europe, was the mastermind of bringing the Merkur Sierra to the States. During the initial launch, roughly 800 Lincoln and Mercury dealers signed on to sell the brand. They'd made that decision before, with the first-gen Mercury Capri and the exotic De Tomaso Pantera, but unfortunately, consumers did not know what to make of the car. But that certainly was not due to the car itself. The Merkur XR4 TI, wow, any more letters and that would have been a bit of a handful, was a performance-oriented hatchback. Its size was nearly identical to the Ford Mustang hatchback. XR4 Ti was a slightly rebodied version of the Ford Sierra XR4i, the mid-range sporting model of the Sierra. Its name highlighted its turbocharged engine, more on that in a second, to avoid anything that might conflict with General Motors branding, like the GMC Sierra and Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra nameplates. Good idea, because I wouldn't want to be associated with GM either. The turbocharged engine was a modified version of the 2.3-liter inline-4 used on the SVO Mustangs, good for 170 horsepower. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but back then that was pretty respectable. Torque was rated at 200 pound-feet torque, but low-end performance left people wanting a bit more. But the XR4 Ti was still no slouch. A manual transmission XR4 Ti could hit 0 to 60 in 8 seconds. Again, good for its time. Journalists mostly favored the car. MotorWeek host John Davis said that Merkur's chassis and suspension provided a combination of smooth but firm ride and laudable handling that few cars not made in Germany seem to be able to manage. Also, car and driver editor David E. Davis Jr., what a name, went further, saying, "The Merkur is about perfect," and placing the car on the magazine's 10 best list. MotorWeek predicted that Ford would sell its annual allotment almost overnight, which would obviously prove to be delusional. Ford projected to sell 15,000 to 20,000 vehicles annually. Well, the brand only sold 26,000 XR4 Ti's in its first 2 years. Even winning the 1987 SCCA Trans Am Championship didn't boost sales, as sales declined nearly 50% in 87. But in an effort to salvage the brand, Ford added the more upscale V6 Scorpio to the Merkur lineup in 1988. But that didn't help. With pricing that peaked at $26,000, Ford sold only 22,000 Merkur Scorpios. The writing was on the wall, as slow sales of the brand did not justify the expense of a redesign. So, in 1989, Ford decided to withdraw the XR4 Ti, with sales of the Scorpio ending at the end of the model year. And unfortunately, this little unique car is forgotten by most. But I think the uniqueness is something that is lacking from most vehicles today, as this car calls back to an era when automakers weren't afraid to take chances, to ask what if, and then just do it. Ford created a path followed by Honda, Nissan, and Toyota, all of which launched their own upscale divisions. The Merkur brought genuine European flair to American showrooms, and while it may be gone, it should not be forgotten, as it paved the way for vehicles that were inspired by it. And with that, stay hydrated, take care of yourself and your loved ones, and peace.